YouTubers, Brian Proctor back again, and I thought I'd come to you this time with a marker test. If you've seen my channel, you know that I've been doing a lot of coloring with the Touch Twin markers, and recently they've come out with the actual brush tip to the old ones, which just had the regular tip. So I started buying the brush markers, because if you want to do any blending, you really need the brush tip. So I've been watching some videos, and I've seen a lot of people doing their coloring, and they've all been using, a lot of them have been using the Copic markers. And the way they do it, it just seems a little bit smoother than the touch twin markers, or let's just call it touch markers. So I said to myself, let me try the Copics just to see what it's like compared to the touch markers, because you know, anybody that knows about the two markers knows that Copic is twice, maybe 3 times the amount of the touch markers, you know, which these are really good pens, but I decided to try them both together. So what I did, I drew a quick face, and I'm going to color both of them the same way. One, I'm going to use the touch markers, and the other, I'm going to use the Copic markers. This is the Copic Ciao, because the regular Copic markers are like way out of my price range. So I bought this flesh tone marker set, and these are, this basically kind of it's not a flesh tone set from the touch, but these are the closest in color comparison, except for this one, which is a quincell, I think that's how you pronounce it. That is the closest that I can get to this little color here. This thing is pretty much almost white-ish, but I'm going to color them both the same way, except for the eyes and the mouth, because I don't have a blue or green or pink. So, and let you guys see, you know, which one goes on smoother, which one blends better. So if you decide to actually go and start getting markers, you'll see which one is the better. But I mean, if you can't afford the Copics, or if you're trying to do professional stuff and get it out there, I don't know, I can't say, but we'll see once I color it, and you can be the judge of that. All right, so with that, let's get going. All right, let's start with the eyes. Let's get that out the way. I decided to make them brown instead of blue or green. So let's do this. And one thing I noticed, that if your markers are wet, really wet, like really charged or really full of ink, they go on a lot better. And I bought the marker set, the twin marker set. I think it was 60 some markers, and I noticed a couple of them were pretty much drying up, you know, before I even used them. So that's something you have to think about when you decide to buy a big set. And this one is not a brush, because I didn't have the matching color to the CO. But when you buy markers, you want to have to prepare to buy the refills. If you buy like 100 markers, you're going to have to buy 100 refills if that's what you want to keep. If you want to keep using those markers, you have to do that. So you check your markers price and your refill price, and that will help determine whether you want to buy the markers or not. So there is one color in the CO that I do not have a match for. This thing is pretty much clear. This is, what is the name of this thing? This is Pale Fruit Pink. I do not have a matching color to that. Maybe it's a Copic brand color, but I don't have the match to that, and that would have been perfect for your base skin tone. So I'm going to go up one color and see how that works. And I'm going to try to color these exactly the same with the other markers. But for now, let me just lay down a base color and see how it blends. Well, I know how these blend because I use these constantly. So I'm just hoping that the ink from the printer won't smudge. And one thing that I have noticed, as I say, to blend it, you want to get it on nice and wet. So you're going to have to get it on quick enough to where it won't dry. And for some reason, this marker, which is the first time I use it, it feels kind of dry. So let me go up in color value just to see. And I don't know how long these sit on the shelf or how long it would take for the alcohol to actually dry up in it. But as I said, this is the first time I use these. I just started buying colors that I figured that I needed just to have them on hand. And whenever I color, I just use a small amount first, or just do a small area first and just build up my colors that way. Let's go up a little bit more, and then now we're getting into the pink, which I need to get into the dark. I don't think the pink is going to work here. And this is more of a Bristol board type paper, more of a thicker copier paper. And then let's go back down to the first one. I'll try to blend this in a little bit more. And the way I usually do it, I'll do, let's just say if you have 3 markers, I'll do 1, 2, and 3, and then I'll go back to 2 and 1, and then kind of keep working my way back up that way. Just keep rotating your markers until you get that tone that you like. And I'm trying not to grab the CO markers. Let's see if I can get this more, but it really feels dry. I don't know why, but it really feels dry. This marker really feels dry. And that's something you have to look out for, that that secondary line when you do markers and you stop and you come back over it. It might make that secondary line, especially if it's dry. But the good thing about these markers is you can go over it again to try to get that line, that overlap line. I think that's what I'm trying to say. I don't want to mix them up. I have each one sitting next to the one that it matches the color, but I'm trying not to mix them up. I might not do the entire face because it's taking a little bit longer than I would have wanted it to. And I don't want this video to go too long. So now I'm going back to the first color I just laid down, and I'm going back over this to kind of blend it in. Not to kind of blend it in, to blend it in. And I want to go brown, but that brown might be too dark. But let me just try it around the eye, where you would have shadow. And I don't want to get too crazy because I'll forget how I did this face in terms of doing the other face. And I'm going to go drop back down to my second color. See if I can blend that in a little bit. But they're dry. As in, my particular markers are dry. I don't think it's the paper, it's just that the markers are dry. And this is back to the first color to try to blend that one in as well. As I say, I don't think I'm gonna color this whole thing. And let me go to the brown again, just because. And then back to my first color. Usually I work a lot faster than this because I don't want it to dry up like it's doing. First color, brown. Trying to keep them in order. Yes, these things are, for whatever reason, they are drying up. So let's stop on that note and do the Copic markers. Trying to put the pins back to next to each other. All right, let us try this. Let's do the brown again with the Copic Ciao. And right away, these feel more wet. As I said, I bought the other ones, but they sat maybe a month I've had them, and I never really used them. And these I just got maybe 3 or 4 days ago. So maybe one thing is that they hold the ink longer. But this is a totally different shape from that. So, I mean, you can actually kind of see the ink in it, if I'm not mistaken, if my eyes are not going bad. Okay, so let's go to the lighter color and try this. And as I said, this is going on a lot smoother and wetter. And just like I did with the other one, I'll stop right here and add the extra color just to see what we have. It does lay down nicely. It's a little hard. Goes on a little harder, maybe because it's wetter. And when I say harder, meaning, what am I meaning? More stronger color. Just trying to avoid the overlap lines. And now it's feeling like it's getting a little drier again, like the other ones. The other ones started out with a dry feeling. As I go along, this one feels like it might be drying out. Not that it is, it's just that feeling of going right across the paper. And let me try a brown. The one thing I don't like is the tip. When the tip goes in, you have to get it in that little second hole in there. I don't know if you can see this, but if you miss it and hit the edge, it feels like you'll mess up your brush. That's my one thing that I'm feeling about this right now. So let's go for a light brown. And it is going on a lot darker. Let me stop and see if I can blend this with the number 2 or with the second color. And it could depend on your paper. As I said, this is more, it's not the shiny Bristol board, but it is a thick cardstock. That's what I'm trying to say, cardstock. And I'll go back to number 1 and see if I can blend that even more. know. I'm kind of liking the touch colors. I mean, I could keep playing with it and playing with it, but it lays down nicely. We'll see what happens after it dries. And this is what I mean by it's going on hard. It's really not blending. I thought it would go on almost like a light shadow, shall we say, and then blend a little better or dry up a little better blending. But this is going on very hard. Even while it's still wet, it kind of grabs the paper and won't blend very well. All right, I have to turn my light on because it's getting dark outside. So yeah, I'm not saying this is a total bust, but let's do this. Let's try the mouth because it's a small area. Let me use the darker and the lighter brown just to see. And this is a quick. Yeah, you see that line, the darker line is not really blending well with the lighter line. This is quick. And I'm doing this as fast as I can just to see if it's going to dry. And it dries up pretty quickly. So let's try the Touch Twins. And this dark brown, this is a sand color. This is pretty much the equivalent to the, what is this? Dark suntan. The dark suntan and a copper. So let's try this. It goes on a lighter. I mean, it's not exactly the same color, but it's very close, but it goes on lighter, and you can see that it blends in well. It's just drying up together. Let's go to the next darker color and see what we have here. And this is not the brush. I'm hating that right now, but still. So the top lip is darker. Let's see if that'll blend. And it is blending to me a little better than the Copic. Let me go darker again. As I said, this one is not the brush. So it's not working very well as far as smoothing it out. But it is drying lighter, nicely lighter. And yeah, now I'm going off the mouth. But let me work with this one a little bit more and then just see. I'm leaning toward the touch markers versus the, what is this, the COs. Let me go darker again. Just because. And that's always a test. Can you take a dark marker and add light to it and have it blend in instead of adding the next shade of light or the next shade of dark to your light marker? For example, if you have a yellow 1 and you go to a yellow 2 and to a yellow 3, can you take a yellow 1 and then jump to a yellow 9 and then blend it in together? I'm almost scared to actually do the light part of the mouth because it might not work. Now it's a richer, darker color, as I say, because these are not exactly, you know, color matched, but this is as close as I can get to those colors. But these, the twins, Touch Twins, are actually, to me, drying up nicely. They're blending and drying nicely without leaving hard lines such as that. And this is the lighter one. Yeah, I had planned on coloring this whole thing, but this is a lesson learned. The CO markers are more harder to blend, especially dark to light colors, and these better. The touch markers better, but as I say, you would need to get the brush tips to do a good blend. And let's just try a darker one, the Copic on the Touch Twin. Just to see what happens. Not saying that it won't blend. Just to see what happens. They kind of work well together. And this one's a little too dark to even mess with here. Go to the sand. Yeah, that's just a little too dark. Let's get back to reality. So with this, I would say there's no need to actually go and spend a lot of money on the Copics, because the Touch Twins, I would say, do just as good a job, if not better a job. So for me, I would go ahead and Touch Twins, because I think I said I bought either the 60 or 80 color markers for, I think it was, I want to say like $44 on Amazon. It might have gone up, but you know, to get that many markers for that cheaper price that look that good, you can't beat that. You cannot beat that. But the problem is, if you buy a lot of markers, you're gonna have to buy a lot of refills too. So that's something you have to think about. And I would recommend, I said this in another video, if you do plan on using markers, I would recommend getting a 12 set, no more than a 24. I really wouldn't even get a 24. I'd get a 12 set and then buy the colors that you need, because you might not need like a hot prostitute pink, you know. So that, and they one other thing I found out about some of these colors, these off colors, they don't make refills for them. So that 80 or 60 or 80 colors that I bought, there were several of them that I could not find a color refill for. So it's best to go ahead and pick the colors that you know you're going to need, especially if you're doing like a lot of ocean pictures or sky pictures or just land pictures where you got your green and brown and so forth. You won't need certain colors. So that is my advice to you. So that is it for this video, where I would say the Copics, they cost too much. Like I expected the Copics to blow this out of the water, but they don't. They go down too dark right off the bat. They don't blend well, or at least these don't anyway. Some people might have better results than me, but you know, you see it right there. And yes, I would go with the Touch 5, save some money, keep on going. So thanks for watching this video. I hope that it was helpful for you. And yeah, keep looking out for my next videos. All right, I am out. See ya.